What's going on, car nerds? Welcome back to the Fuel for Thought podcast. I'm Jay.
I'm Kevin.
And today we got another fun episode for you today. This is episode 42, and we're going to have another run at the whole Tesla thing. So
Yes.
yeah, so essentially the idea here is we're going to kind of talk about what's happened to Tesla over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of turmoil with both the Tesla stock, but also with their production cars, kind of how everything's slowly evolved over time as the EV hype is kind of worn off. So yeah, Kevin, where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so we made an episode previously and we got, not surprisingly, a lot of hate because
Yeah.
I feel like there's a cult following around Tesla. So we kind of want to do a follow-up to that episode.
Maybe a little less pointed, not to piss as many people off, but also the hate is kind of fun. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
because at the end of the day, facts don't lie. In that video, we didn't shit on the brand. We were just like, here's the issues we see with Tesla, and of course the fanboys didn't like that and
Yeah.
called us whatever they wanted to. And but now we're doing a follow-up because things that we talked about previously are kind of unwinding now, and we're starting to see, I guess, the damage that most people are seeing.
Yeah, and I think an important caveat here is that there's been a lot of movement in the stock price, which I think has led people to believe that the company's performing a lot worse than it is, because the actual company itself hasn't been suffering as much as the stock price has. It was just severely overvalued for a pretty long period of time. The price to earnings ratio was super high. Everyone was hyped on this new EV thing, so that kind of changed the whole market, and definitely can't let that kind of change, how we're thinking about it.
Yeah. So I think the catalyst that really pushed the whole thing over was the release of the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype behind that one, and I don't think it was well executed.
No, I agree. I think it kind of started out as a meme, which is kind of funny. Like, it was kind of at the same time where actually it was kind of predating AI, but that's kind of what it started being known as, the AI designed truck, which is kind of funny. And then I actually, to be honest, I thought it would just be a meme, and it wouldn't actually become an actual truck. But I think the fact that Elon pushed it through got a lot of people's attention, but obviously how that was done was not the right way.
And before we jump into that disaster, let's just talk numbers of the stock and stuff. So Tesla year to date, as of recording this, is down 28%, which is quite a lot. That's a huge. The market is on kind of a bearish run. Not that big, but 28 is a lot. We're talking about $70 a share.
Yeah, not only that, this is one of the biggest stocks in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. So it's dragging down the markets as a result. So even though you're saying, the markets are also sort of down, that might literally just be the cause of Tesla, where most other companies are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. And honestly, if we compare this to any other car manufacturer, it's still valued pretty ridiculously.
Oh yeah.
It's insane what Tesla is valued at, even after falling so much. So currently, even what you have here, the market cap, 561 billion, compared to VAG, Volkswagen Auto Group, which is 65 billion. And they're huge. You see a Volkswagen literally everywhere. And here in Toronto we see Teslas everywhere too, but not how many times bigger is that? At least 10, almost 10. So it's crazy. And then you also have earnings, right? Earnings is another thing. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So you have VAG creating $321 billion a year in revenue. Or is this profit? Profit or revenue?
This is just earnings.
Okay, so this is just revenue. And then Tesla only has 94 billion. So a little bit under a third, but it has 10 times higher market cap. So that doesn't really add up.
Yeah. And even production numbers. Tesla produces 1.8 million vehicles per year, whereas Volkswagen does 9.3 million.
Yeah, so even that is at least 5 times, 6 times bigger.
Yeah.
So.
And the argument has always been that Tesla is valued for future value, I guess future valuation. But at what point do you start looking at this number and just think like, no, this is crazy?
Yeah, but also you got to factor in growth too, right? Like the stock market grows, Tesla stock's going to grow regardless of whether, the future growth is already priced in. So I mean, the fact that it's already valued at $500 billion right now, and it's going to keep growing with inflation at least, means that it's going to, well, I mean, not in the last year, but if it keeps growing, like if it's already baked in and it keeps growing, it makes no sense, because if everything's baked in, it should be zero. There should be no change. So the argument already doesn't hold up. So that's the other thing. It's like, it's pretty much just hype. It's kind of like NVIDIA right now with AI. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like all these trends that people are hopping on. I mean, there's by no means nothing wrong with that, but just be cautious if you're an investor, but also, don't take it as a face value for what Tesla's really worth.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That was my finance rant for today.
Yeah. So now that we covered, I guess, the financial part, mm-hmm. let's dive into just the Cybertruck. And in my opinion, it hasn't been like a huge disaster, but it really hasn't done well for the Tesla brand.
No.
Because there's so many issues just over the whole production and whole life cycle of this Cybertruck. So, it was announced, people thought it was a joke, and then Tesla and Elon confirmed, no, we're really making this. And then they unveiled it at the Tesla show.
Can I just pause you there? Even that was kind of a flop. Like the fact that he hit the window and it shattered and stuff. Like everything was kind of everything just seemed like it just wasn't ready, and it was just pushed last minute to be ready, and like kind of like spur of the moment kind of thing.
So the funny thing about that is, I don't know what happened exactly, but like the glass did exactly what's supposed to. So he hit the glass, it like cracked, but it didn't shatter, it didn't explode, which normal glass does.
Yeah.
But his reaction was like, oh shit, like this was not supposed to happen. But no, like had you just, I don't know, talked to an engineer,
exactly,
or like rehearsed before the show, you would have known that was supposed to happen.
Exactly. It just wasn't very well, like it was obviously wasn't very well prepared for him to know that stuff. So I mean, even just like I kind of watched like a portion of it and like how he talks about it. I mean, that's just Elon, how he talks about it, but just sounds like he had no idea what half the things he was talking about even meant. And like that's fine, sure, whatever, but like it doesn't look great to people wanting to buy it. But yeah, that's just the start of the horrendous.
So the unveiling goes really wrong, but again, I feel like everything that happens with the Tesla, even like as bad as it gets, creates more hype and more people want it. And that's kind of how they're building the whole Cybertruck thing. They're just word of mouth, sharing likes, and then somehow people want to buy one.
Exactly. It's like almost like the fact that it's a meme. Mm-hmm. Like it was almost Elon's intention for it to be a meme so that people would buy it. It's like, oh shit, I'm driving a meme. I get so much attention, all this hype. I get all this awareness for my brand or something, just because this thing stands out and people turn heads just because it's literally a meme. Like it looks like an alien car.
Yeah. So. Like I'd love to see a different universe where we have no social media and we're in the same age and all that, and this thing gets released, but there's no like social media clout, no celebrities, no memes, no nothing. I would love to see how well it would do.
I don't think he would have ever announced it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyways, so it gets released, then of course you can pre-order. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty small step. I think it's like $100 deposit through the app, and then you're supposed to get an allocation. But of course, then they delay production for, I want to say like a year and a half, almost, or something like that. Like it was delayed for a while, and then they finally started to ship out to customers. And then of course, like this is because of the whole COVID car market.
Yeah.
They went straight to auction and started fetching a lot more money, and people were paying like $300,000 for a Cybertruck. So that was a whole fiasco, because then Tesla was finding out who's flipping them, banning you from ever buying a new Tesla. So again, a huge social media boom for Tesla around the Cybertruck. And then the issues started to rise.
That's when it all started.
Yeah.
So first, before we get into like the major issues, I just like I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about it, and the main thing everyone's like super bugged about is the fingerprints on the door.
Yeah.
It's something so simple, but like personally, like I'm like part OCD, but it like pisses me off when things have fingerprints on them. Like a fridge, for example, it would drive me insane if it has fingerprints on it. So like this, like imagine your car having fingerprints all over the door all the time. That would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Especially because you actually need to scrub it when you clean it because it's oils, right? So, I mean, yeah, that's just one thing that stood out to me. But now onto the more legitimate issues.
Yeah. So the first one that kind of broke the internet is news about the foot pedal or the gas pedal getting stuck, unhinging and getting stuck.
Yeah, of all things you want to get stuck, that's probably the one you want least.
The last, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any fatalities reported, but there has been at least 3 crashes caused
Really?
because of this. So it's a pretty big deal. Like,
Yeah, I mean, imagine getting hit by this 4-ton hunk of steel, like in like a little
Yeah.
car. You wouldn't fare pretty well.
no, definitely not. So for that one, just that one issue, about 3,800 trucks were called, which is
Do you know how many were produced yet, or?
well, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
In the later issues, because I mean 3,800 is a lot of trucks.
Exactly. I was just gonna
It's
say
not all of them.
it's pretty close to all of them at this point, isn't it? Do they have a cap on production? I don't think
No,
so, right?
it's not limited. But what they're doing is, so you know how there's levels. There's like, I guess horsepower levels.
Yeah.
The tri-motor is like the top of the top, and they take precedence in production. So they'll do, I guess, the most expensive truck first,
Oh, okay.
and then they'll get to the later models. So it's kind of enticing you to pay more and get the premium one.
I mean, that's not a bad strategy, actually. It's one of the few things that they actually
Yeah,
did right.
I guess that's how most things work, but like it's kind of shitty for the little guy. I feel like the one that
Yeah, of
just wants
course.
the Cybertruck.
I mean, at the same time, it's like if you want the Cybertruck, you probably have some money to piss away. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, there's plenty of other trucks to choose from. That I mean, none that look like this, but I mean, you can get similar specs from like the SVT Lightning. Like, you
Yeah,
can get there pretty quickly.
yeah.
Not that that's a cheap truck, but
They're actually like really surprisingly, the base model F-150 Lightning is, I think, 30,000.
oh wow, I didn't know that.
And
Because
it's-
even the F-150s are expensive now. Like just the regular non-electric.
Yeah,
Because those are like what 60 base.
nah, like if you get like the what's the limited or platinum, those they start pushing like 70, 80. But if you just get like the base model two-wheel drive, I think the cheapest one's now the V6 EcoBoost.
Yeah.
I think that it's tradesman. That's like the trim level. And it's just like cloth interior and plastic, everything. It looks like trash, but it's a work truck. It's
Yeah.
not meant to be luxurious. But yeah, those are 30, 35.
It's pretty good actually. This is like pushing like Asian car levels. It's just pretty
Yeah.
impressive for like a. I mean, obviously Henry Ford with his production line stuff, he's pushed the limits pretty far. But anyway, kind of getting off track here. But
Yeah.
I think kind of the point is that this is like a more luxury kind of truck. Like I don't know, you're right about the fact that it is like kind of manipulating the small guy, especially like I mean Elon's so fucking rich. Like come on, like really you couldn't give up like $1 billion of your 800 billion whatever the fuck he has to like help a couple people get a Cybertruck. I don't really get the MO here, but I digress.
It's a business. It has to make money.
Guess so, yeah.
But yeah, so that was the first recall. The next one, I think it's pretty funny. So you know how, I don't know if you've seen like a front shot of a Cybertruck, but it's like perfect, smooth, and then there's just a wiper. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's one big one, right?
yeah, one large wiper that just kind of ruins the whole look.
Yeah.
So apparently those things are starting to fly off at high speeds. It's not the whole wiper, it's just like there's a trim piece on the back to kind of make it look less edgy. And those things are flying off at highway speeds, which is pretty dangerous. Like the people behind you are going to get hit with that thing.
I actually heard something similar when Marquise Brownlee was reviewing it about the wheel caps. So apparently those things do
Oh, yeah.
not stay on, they're flying off on the highway. So another thing. So these things are just flying parts left and right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to drive behind one, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a pretty major one, and I think the worst of the worst is there's been quite a few stories, especially in California, where people are going to the dealership, picking it up, and on the drive home, the car goes into limp mode and says, pull over, because the steering, something's misaligned in the steering, and the car does not want to drive because it's not,
Weird. You'd think they do like testing for this kind of thing, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if they're doing it on the drive home, that's crazy. Like, I mean, maybe after like 20,000 kilometers and that happens, all right, maybe.
Apparently, Tesla's blaming the shipping, that they're misaligning the wheels or tightening them too much, and it's causing a misalignment.
Interesting.
But I can't imagine waiting, because people have to obviously wait for a while because it was delayed. So you wait a year, finally get it, you drive for like 2 minutes, and then it goes into limp mode, and you have to bring it.
Yeah, I'd set that thing on fire so quick.
Yeah, you have to tow it to the dealership, and it's down for a couple days.
It's brutal, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping they at least cover that.
Yeah, it would be under warranty, but it's still, it's not a good initial.
No, like, especially if you're hoping to keep this thing long term. I mean, first 10 kilometers and it already breaks down.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
crazy.
So in total, there's been 4 recalls for the Tesla, and so at first it was 3,800, and for the last 2 issues, we're now at 12,000. 12,000 vehicles being recalled, which is maybe not the entire production of all Cybertrucks, but probably pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's probably around like 20, 30,000.
I
Like
would
high end.
say 30,000, but yeah.
Let me see if I can find anything on Google, because now I'm curious. I don't know if they'll have like an up-to-date number.
It's pretty insane for such a new car to have 4 recalls in total.
Okay, so as of April, it said, I mean, obviously, it says 8,000 plus. I'd hope so. There's more recalls than there is on the market.
As of April, but we're
Yeah, it's
end
pretty
of June,
recent.
so
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say maybe 15,000
Yeah.
total builds.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking too. I mean, it's probably like a good chunk of the current fleet, obviously, because I mean, they just started driving off the lots a couple months ago.
Yeah. So it's, again, not very good for the reputation.
I mean, think about it, right? Like, if you're in the market right now for a new truck, an EV truck, right? And you're like, okay, what are my options here? And you start doing a bit of research. Kind of a no-brainer to skip out on this. Like, maybe there's going to be a V2 or like an updated version. I'd definitely wait for that. I mean, no V1 of anything is ever good. Like, when the iPhone first came out, that first iPhone was shit. When the iPod first came out, and anything that the first gen is never good. Mm-hmm. So I'd always skip out on that. But also, like, if you read these numbers, like all these recalls, like 12,000 recalls, say there's 30,000 built, okay, fine, but it's still like a 46, 47% failure rate, so
It's pretty bad, yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't really have faith in that.
And the craziest thing, so this is untreated steel, the whole body of the truck, and people are already starting to notice rusting. The craziest part is it's a pickup truck, right? It's meant to be not really on road. It can go off road, can do pretty much everything. That's the whole point of a pickup truck. But in the warranty, it says if you go off-roading and don't immediately wash your truck, it voids the warranty. You can't like bring it and be like, hey, it's rusting. It'll be like, well, you didn't wash it.
That's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, first of all, stainless steel. Not just steel, it's stainless. Why the fuck is it rusty?
because it's not treated.
I still don't get it though. So it's not stainless, or is it stainless?
Well, it's stainless steel, but I don't think there's like a protective coating, or there is, but it's not thick enough.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter, because stainless steel is literally, it's made to be stainless. Like, you can't rust it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if that's, but like that's
But any metal will oxidize.
Aluminum doesn't.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy that trucks like this are already starting to
No,
get.
I guess I'm wrong. Okay. it's resistant, but it's not immune to rust. Okay, so it's just like deters it, I guess. So you might be right. They don't have like the coating on it.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Still, I mean, again, that doesn't look great. Imagine how these things are going to look in 10 years.
Well, imagine in California, the salt
That
air
too,
from
yeah.
the ocean and all.
I
Like,
mean, even here in Canada, like the salt from the roads in the winter.
yeah. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's just insane to think about. Like, I buy a new truck, but now I have to worry about it already rusting.
Yeah.
Like, I get if you buy, like, I bought my truck that was like 10 years old, and yeah, there was rust. And,
but yeah, it's
but-
10 years of like salt driven on the roads and like.
yeah.
Yeah, it's also not a $100,000+ truck, so.
No, yeah. So
It's crazy.
that's insane to me. Like,
Yeah.
you need to detail the car, or else it voids the warranty. It's
Pretty
a
nuts.
chore.
Yeah, it's not great. But I mean, it doesn't even end there. Some don't even have a tailgate that works.
Yeah. So this hasn't been like all the trucks, but some of them, because it's an auto retract tailgate, some of them just get stuck. So they'll come out and then just get stuck and just you can't close it.
That's the thing with too many like moving parts, you know, like I kind of get antsy too when like a car has too much tech, because I'm like, you know, like one thing goes wrong and everything's fucked. You know what I mean? Like that kind of scares me about Teslas too. It's like everything's controlled from one big iPad. It's like if that thing crashes, like your car is not usable.
Yeah.
And like sure, it might be built well, but it's still something you got to think about.
Yeah. And then classic Tesla panel gaps everywhere. We've seen that with every
Yeah.
car they produce. You know, uneven. We got a picture here. We'll add in the video, but it's just like.
It's like
I don't
why?
know.
It looks messy. It looks like they didn't take the time to actually produce it properly. You know what I mean? Again, it all comes
Yeah.
back to like the same thing with the reveal of it, like how everything was unorganized. Like it's almost like he's in some rush to do as much as he possibly can.
Well,
It's
he's
production
setting
too.
unrealistic production numbers, and the employees or the factories have to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to cut corners somehow. So they're putting on a factory, building it, doing barely any quality control, and say, yeah, fuck it, it's good
Yeah.
enough, send it out. So,
But that's the thing. Like I feel like these had the potential to be really cool and useful. It's just like it just wasn't done correctly, and it wasn't given the time it needed.
yeah.
Although it was still delayed massively, but.
Yeah, unfortunately. Couple more things. There's been reports where, you know, obviously it's a truck. You're gonna take it off-roading. People do like go through a small puddle. There's a sick video. It's like a small puddle. Guy goes through it. Truck is done.
Really?
Just brick. Like the lights turn off. It doesn't move. It's like, it's amazing how useless this thing was made for the city.
Yeah.
It was not made to be a truck. The tailgate doesn't work, so you can't load stuff in there.
I mean, your iPhone is more water resistant than that thing.
Yeah, you can't take it off-roading because then it voids the warranty, but also the whole truck.
No, thinking about
It's
now, what happens if there's a big rain and there's a puddle on the road?
Good question.
Like, does it just die in the middle of the road?
Potentially.
Because there's like in Toronto especially, like the sewers are always backed up. Like there's puddles everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like if you have to trickle through it so you don't cook your car.
I just can't. I can't imagine driving something so fragile. Like,
Yeah, it's like you buy that to be exactly the opposite of that. You buy it because it's meant to be rigorous and go off-roading and do all these crazy things with it, not to baby it and treat it like a little Prius, you know?
yeah. And then I think this is hilarious. The Cybertruck tent.
These are just an ongoing meme in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this thing's $3,000. I don't understand why anyone would buy it. I get maybe from the concept. It looks cool, but the execution is just so far off.
I actually watched. I don't know if you guys know Kara and Nate. They're like these travel YouTubers. They actually got a Cybertruck on loan from Tesla, and they tried out the tent, and it was kind of like love-hate. Like the setup is horrendous. First of all, like there's not really any clear instructions how to set it up. Apparently, it is pretty comfortable, which is a plus. But there's also like they have so much potential to make it better. Again, if they didn't rush it, because there's no plugs in the tent anywhere. Like they could have made it so that the plugs are accessible to plug in your phone or something at night. And there's also just like this kind of gap between the bed of the truck and like where you sleep, which is, it could be good, but apparently like a breeze comes in there at night and it like makes you cold from underneath. So again, it's just like these little things that add up and like make it slightly less exciting.
Yeah.
But I mean, even looking at the photo, like how it is supposed to be, you know,
It's completely off.
it's interesting.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. We just grilled the Cybertruck, but I feel like I want to end on a good note. Do you want to kick us off in like our idea of how to improve or where Tesla should go from now?
Yeah, I mean, first I want to just mention, like, although like the Cybertruck might have been a bit of a flop, like it's pretty impressive that he was able to make it real. Like the fact that he actually, you know, dreamt this up, however the hell he did that, like had this image in his head, had the whole thing planned out, and actually made it happen is pretty impressive. Even though there's flaws, like I said, every version 1 of everything always has flaws, so I'm not too surprised by it. So I mean, there is a lot of hope for it. Like, I mean, Elon's a smart guy. They've got good engineers. Yeah, I just think like it's really an established company at this point. Like, it's very well centered in the car ecosystem. We see Teslas everywhere. They've kind of changed the game for EVs worldwide. Like, they've really set a standard for quality. And although we didn't really see it with the Cybertruck yet, like just like the fact that you can buy quality EVs at a decent price, I think has inspired many brands. And like, I mean, it's becoming like an overall standard. So that's kind of the first thing. But yeah, more anything you want to add?
Yeah, I feel like Tesla, as much as I guess we don't really like it, I'm really glad Tesla exists and what they've done, because they've sort of paved the way. Before Tesla, I mean, sure, there was electric vehicles and hybrids, but they weren't to this level. They weren't to this, I guess, romanticized level where people are willing to buy them. Before they were kind of seen as tree-hugging hippies.
Yeah.
So it's important what they did, but I feel like now they're falling behind. The technology, most manufacturers have caught up. The battery technology, the motor technology is all there. I really think they need to start looking in other directions to improve.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I also just think like kind of the common theme throughout this whole talking about the Cybertruck has just been the haste with which they've done everything. And I think if they take the time and really develop a good model of any of the electric cars, I think they'll go a long way. Because, I mean, even if it takes 10 years to develop a proper car and like really do it right, take everything they've learned from the Model 3, the Model Y, the Model X, all the models that they have, taken all the flaws that they figured out and implemented it all to make a better car, I think that would win the game for Tesla, honestly. Like if they, I mean, to be fair, honestly, like if I wasn't a car person, I'd probably buy one of those if they actually fixed everything, got those proper ones on the road. I mean, I even drove a Model 3 when I was out in Western Canada, and I mean, they're great. Like it's nice that everything is just creature comforts inside. Like you have nice leather seats, you've got, you know, your whole infotainment system, you got heated seats, heated steering wheel, like everything is there, even in the base models, which is fantastic. So again, like as a car guy, I do like my internal combustion engine, but honestly, for like a daily driver, I can see it. Like if they keep improving, I can see why everyone would want one.
Yeah, I think they need to work on the build quality and finished product.
Exactly.
And because that's probably the biggest complaint.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely know the issues.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
one of the biggest issue for them was production. I feel like they've gone to that level. They've achieved the huge production numbers they were looking for, and now they can kind of supplement the flow of new buyers coming in.
That's kind of the thing, though. Like, you'll see manufacturers, either they take the avenue of mass production with low quality, or they take longer, but they have like a luxury or supercar like status, right? But I feel like Tesla tried to marry the two of those, and it didn't really go well. Because, I mean, obviously if you look at Honda Civics, right, the build quality over time after refining has gotten really good, but the materials are still not very high end that they use. And, you know, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you look at like a Pagani or something, how long that takes to create, I mean, those take probably a month to build one of those. So, I mean, depends on the different versions of it.
It's almost a year.
Probably, yeah. It's insane. Like everything is like done by hand. So it's like all done with such care. So I feel like Tesla maybe missed the mark on where they stand kind of in that spectrum, because I think they want it to be mass produced, but they tried to make everything as high level as they could and kind of have those luxuries, but trying to still produce it very quickly, and that didn't go well.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to touch on is a big issue that's going to get even worse as time goes on is the used EV market. That has
It's
been
a big one.
insane. We're talking about like in 3 years you can lose up to 60% of the car value.
Crazy. Do you think this is mostly like stigma, what people think, or do you think it's actually the quality of the cars?
It's hard to say. I feel like it's just, I mean, it's the battery technology. It's just that, like, they will be, the lifespan will go down as the time goes on and gets used.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're gonna sink money into a car, people don't want to have to worry about the battery life.
Yeah.
Because the issue is these electric cars are the highest cost of the battery pack. Like you can change anything else, but yeah, the battery packs will just kill the value of the car.
Do you think, like, I know obviously the early Teslas, like the Model S, had pretty shitty battery like longevity, but now apparently like the Model Y is supposed to be like between 10 and 12 years with normal usage. Like, do you think that'll help people like do better in the secondhand market? Like, say if it's like a 3-year-old lease return Tesla, and it still has 9 to 10 years of battery longevity left.
Yeah, I think that the way of charging has definitely improved. Like the supercharger will only go to 80% because if it goes above that, then it starts to.
I actually experienced this firsthand. It was really weird because I'm like, oh, supercharger, it'll be really quick, but the battery was at 65%, and I thought I'd just like top it up. So it went fast for like 5 minutes up to like 68, 69%, and then it said like 2.5 hours remaining to 90. So I was like, wait, how is this a supercharger? And obviously I didn't know, but from 0 to like 60 is super quick. It's like 30 minutes, and then it gradually reduces because like the internal heat of the battery and everything increases. So
Yeah.
just a note to anyone who hasn't driven a Tesla, didn't know that. That's something new I learned. But like you said, like it only goes to 80, right?
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
It could be 60. I don't know the exact number, but like as time goes on and we, I guess, study batteries more and more and get more information, I think charging is the biggest battery killer.
Yeah.
Like how you charge, how fast, how slow. You can like on your Tesla app, you can say I'm gonna leave at 7 a.m. So it like
Optimizes it.
Yeah, so it doesn't charge 100% and just stays plugged in.
It's kind of like your phone, it has that same capability where it doesn't charge it.
So it's all about like saving the battery life. So technology, I wouldn't say the batteries technically have gotten better. It's just our understanding of how charging
Definitely.
and to extend the battery life. But it's still gonna go down, and that's a shame because these cars they're nice cars. They're still working, but they're going for so cheap, and the owners are really the ones paying that price.
Yeah.
So one thing, like we were just talking off camera, is like, what if, let's say, Tesla buys the used cars, has a buyback program, not like trade-in where you get ripped off, but a fair value for the car, takes these cars, recycles as much as they can, and then sells it again, or does some sort of rebate when you buy a new Tesla, or to kind of help owners with the used car market, because it's just, you buy something for 100,000 and then 3 years later you sell it for 30,000. You don't want to do that again.
No,
it's a
exactly.
huge loss.
But also just in the grand scheme of things, for environmentalists and stuff, to like get people to really switch over. Like Kevin and I, we're probably the hardest people to convince, but honestly, things like that would go a long way in, building this case for, EVs are the future. And I think, definitely has a place in the economy, but as it stands right now, I mean, it's not very enticing to a lot of people because of these issues. And I mean, I will hand it to Tesla. Like, their battery technology advancement has been absolutely insane. Like, before Tesla came around, like, like, fast chargers did not exist. Even, I mean, Apple, I don't even know if they used Tesla's technology. They probably did to some extent, honestly, with, their fast charging batteries and stuff like that. Like, it's probably I don't know who originated it. I don't want to make any false claims, but I'm pretty sure Tesla came up with that whole, how do we manage the heat of the battery without ruining its life kind of thing, that balancing act, and like using different materials. It's been very interesting to watch that develop, and it's been very quick too.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, me and Kevin will have to test drive a Tesla, and we'll take you guys along at some point. But until we get there, maybe we'll do another episode like this sometime.
You're on Tesla. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. It's been episode 42, and we'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.